Okay, so in this video we're gonna go through the mood in lighting. So another important aspect in lighting is that you have to bring the mood to the audience. So let's say like you're watching a animation clip, right? Apart from good music, the lighting setup, right, is also very important because the lighting setup can brings out a different mood for a different scene to the audience. So let's say there's a sad moment happening in a scene, then as a lighting artist, you need to set up the lighting condition that can convey that sad moment or that sad scene to the audience. Okay, so for example here, like I have the exact, I have the same exact scene for each of this picture, but if you look at the lighting condition or the lighting mood, that tells you like a different mood is happening. So maybe I would say like this um, picture. So this robot, maybe it's an evil robot because if you look at the color, like it's red, and usually red is portrayed if there is any like evil character or maybe some action is scene is about to happen, and maybe also this green one because green tends to portray with things like poison and all that. Okay, as compared to this color, where it's very warm, and maybe this one also it happening during like daytime. Usually like um, the yellow color indicate like warm and also like you know uh, good or friendly people. Okay, as compared to these two color. Okay, so this is just another example. Okay, so again, as a lighting artist, you need to kind of like set up your light in a way that it can portray like a certain mood to the audience, which is based on the story or the color script that you're working upon. Okay, so this is another example. So if you don't have like a mood, okay, like this picture here, this is pretty much flat and boring, right? I mean, cannot just put light, anyhow. So just to illuminate the scene. Okay, so there is a mood that you need to kind of convey. Okay, mm, otherwise it will look like this, pretty much flat. Now, here I have an example. So if you look at this before and after, right? The picture here, kind of like there is a nice mood. Okay, it's happening around the evening area when the sun was, sunset maybe. And if you look at this God's ray or this is like lighting streak, like it makes this picture like more heroic. Okay, so there is this little guy trying to fight like this bigger um, and a stronger guy. Okay, so by having like this kind of lighting setup, right, illumination, right, and it kind of brings up the mood as compared to this one, very flat. Even if you put the cloud, um, it doesn't do much. Okay, so this is the kind of mood, right, or the kind of lighting setup that you have to do as a lighting artist. Okay, and again, this is another example. So apart from just setting the light in a scene, lighting artists also need to direct the audience attention. Okay, so in this case, there is a light coming from the left side. Okay, so what the lighting artists do or want to convey the message is that audience, please look at on this left side. Okay, as it's much brighter. Okay, and you can see like there is a sad scene happening, right? There's someone die, and this part is actually much darker. So the lighting artist kind of like tell the audience to watch this portion of the image rather than this side. Okay, so this one is portrayed by being much brighter. Okay, and again, you need to kind of like establish the mood. Okay, in this one the color is a bit dull. Okay, so when something's dull, usually like it's boring or there's a sad moment. It's not as compared to like warm and bright color. Okay, so in this case, it's portrayed by sad moment, someone die. Okay, and again, the third one will be like creating a sense of depth. Okay, so the lighting artist's job also need to kind of tell the audience like how much or how big is the space or how big is the scene. Okay, so in this case, like I think it's um, you can tell like all these people is actually like in the row, and there's you can also tell the shadow like it's not much, right? And from this guy to this guy is pretty much the same, so it's pretty much aligned in the shadow, right? So there's not much foreground, right? There's no background, so this kind of thing like is also part of the lighting artist. So if there is any like big scene, you wanna render like the foreground maybe, or maybe the background as well, so there is a depth happening. Okay, and the last one is pretty similar to the second one, so you need to maintain like the visual continuity, right? So if this is happening like in the daytime, right, maybe the next shot also you need to maintain like it's also happening in the daytime, because if the next shot you change the lighting somehow to nighttime, you kind of tell the audience like time's already passed. Okay, so you kind of need to maintain that yeah, the visual continuity as well. Okay, so the lighting setup need to be um, stable or consistent. Okay, rather. Okay. Again, color is also very important when it comes to lighting in the mood, right? It's just like very typical. So when you have evil character, usually it's like a lot of shadow, so the scenery is kind of black, right? There is not much light happening, and this black color usually portray with unhappiness or evil. Okay, white usually with pure or innocence, right? Red, love, excitement, or action. Okay, blue usually to be like sad, calm. I mean, yeah, mostly sad. Like green, envy, all this kind of thing. Like you can actually refer to this like yeah, color mood. Okay, so this is just an example. So there's a different interpretation when it comes to a different like project or different film. But this is just a very simple guidance. Okay, and again, this is an example on how the mood is represented in the movie. Okay, so this is pretty like long video, so I'm gonna skip that, right, and let you watch another link on the blackboard. Okay, and again, um, this is just another emphasis on how the color can actually convey a different mood. So again, in here, like it's very bright. Okay, everything's happy, everything's warm. There's a lot of like yellow, orange, warm color. And when it comes to depression, the color becomes dull. Okay, it tends to have a dark color, like a bit of blue usually, right, and black. Okay, so you can tell like this town is much depressed compared to this one. Okay, and here, right, there's a hope. So maybe like there's something happening in the town, but there's a you know there's some like problem. As you can see, like there's this dark color there, but again like there's a hope. There's a glimmer of hope with this bright color happening. Okay, I like this one. It's passion, right? I think it's pretty like colorful, right? With nice and purple color, and I mean you can tell like there's a lot of like interpretation when it comes to this mood. This one, this is pretty cool. Fear. There is a bit of fog, and like they use mainly like green color. Okay, green usually represent with poison and all that thing. Magical. This is pretty cool, right? Purple and blue usually is a good color if you want to do some magical stuff, right? And so on and so on. Okay, and again, even with the simple box, right, and some lighting setup, right, you can create like totally different mood. Okay, so this one is more like sci-fi, UFO, right, with the green color. But this one, maybe some action scene, right, and they're all like different. Okay, but the object is very like simple. Okay, so lighting is a powerful tool that you probably need to learn, right, to portray or convey the message to the audience. And here is same example, right? So a different lighting condition will give you like a different mood. Okay, so in this one, right, I think she looks kind of like evil character as compared to this one. Now this one is more like a warm, friendly character because of how the light is portrayed. Okay, and compared to this one, she looks like very mysterious. You can see like by how the light is set up, and you only can see like half of her face, whereas this one is totally dark. Okay, usually this kind of setup is used when you want to portray like a mysterious character. Okay, and again, this is an example. Okay, same scene but different kind of mood. Okay, so this one sort of like yeah, mysterious, right? There is this cut ray and so on. Okay, so this one is also different. And again, like another example, right, of how the lighting can actually change the mood. Okay, so this is just a process on how from concept art, right, to the final result. And in here, right, they try to match whatever you have in concept art. Okay, so this is a good example for that. Okay, so to improve on lighting, you can actually refer to movie. So this is how we call like high key lighting. So when you want to portray like happy mood or uh, whatever, right? It's just a kind of yeah, example. Everything's bright and warm. Okay, so if you want to portray like a bad guy, right, intimidating, then you're gonna use this contrast in lighting. So there is a sharp contrast between the shadow or the dark area to the brightest spot in the scene. Okay, so that makes the character more intimidating, and also like they emphasize more on the backlighting. Okay, same example, right? Contrast in lighting. So this is the bad guy in one of the movie. Then they usually use the backlight as the main light, so everything else is like dark. Okay, so you can see the silhouette. Yeah, very mysterious. Only the eye can see. Okay, if you want to, this is called Lowkey Lighting, and the guy like, yeah, maybe like sad, right, heartbroken, just sitting on a couch, and the color is very dull. There's not much happening. So if you want to portray like sad or whatever, right, you can use this low-key lighting method. Okay, so usually tends to be pretty dark scene. And again, when it comes to lighting, reference will be your best friend. So if you want to render this kind of scene, right, people usually try to look on the picture in internet that try to resemble the scene that you're going for. So maybe this is a warm scene, and it's this guy riding a bicycle, and this picture is pretty much the same, right? So again, try to light nicely, because without light this is pretty much boring. But once you put the light in the silhouette, right, the shadow, that makes the picture look interesting. Okay, and if you don't know like how to light, always go for the reference in the real life. Okay, they will be your best friend. And again, like this is an example. So if we have a scene like this that you have to render, how do we render? Well, look at it from the photos. Okay, and you can see like it's a clear daytime. The shadow is not so long, but kind of like short. Maybe like it's sun is right on the top, right, exactly like a daytime. Okay, so this is just another like reference you can do, and you can look maybe from stock photo or whatever, or Google. Okay, so always go for the references. This is just rule of thumb. Okay, so usually when it comes to lighting a FYP or environment where there is environment and people, they have to, they usually have a different set of light. One light for the environment and one set of light for the character. Okay, because the character need to stand out from the environment, so that tends to have a different set of light for the character. It can be 3-point light or any kind of light setup. Okay, depending on what you need.